Hello guys and welcome to my new video. It's been ages since I've done a proper discussion video, guys, and this is a video that requires your input because I know the community is going to have split opinions about certain decisions. But in the last day or so, Blizzard has made some groundbreaking changes to the game in terms of some of the policies. We're going to be talking about the banning of the boosting communities, and we'll talk about the implications, what could happen, and then also the most exciting thing that has happened in a really long time, and I expected this. I think a lot of people expected the fact that cross-faction play is going to be introduced in 9.25, not the next expansion, but at the end of this expansion. So guys, let's go straight to the video, and we're going to be talking about the boosting communities. So these are a couple of the snippets in terms of what's happening for the boosting communities, and this might affect others more because they might be part of a boosting community, they might be doing something like this, they might be buying boosts and things like that. Boosting is not banned. This policy update does not restrict individuals or guilds from using the provided in-game tools, trade chat, to buy or sell in-game items or activities for in-game currency. However, boosting communities, especially those who operate across multiple realms, are not permitted. So Blizzard is targeting. So before we're gonna go into this, I kind of want to get a general idea of how many people are affected by this. First of all, I believe that there is a lot of people who do buy boosts in game for gold, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, people with alts and stuff like that. I personally never bought a boost, but I can see why people buy it, and I know there's going to be a split opinions about this. And there is a lot of guilds out there who use boosting communities to get gold for repairs and things like that. So what is a boosting community? You might not even know what it is. It is a middleman. You have a person who wants to do a boost, you have a person who wants to buy a boost, and you have the boosting community that facilitates that in an easier way. So boosting community will do all the advertisement in order to find the person who wants to buy it, which this is where you see the trade chat spam over and over again. And boosting community will also make sure that the person who wants to do the boost is capable of doing the boost. So it is like quality of life assurance service that has grown into something much bigger. Boosting communities have become part of the game, and this policy, from what I've seen, the first time I read it, I was like, wow, they're actually really doing it. And the more I got into it, this change is purely aimed at the big boosting communities, and Blizzard said, no, I don't want you in the game anymore. I don't want you to be a part of World of Warcraft, because you're still able to do boosts as a guild. You're still able to do it as an individual. You're still able to do cross-round boosting and things like that. They just want to, again here, organizations who disruptively advertise across all realms and establish escrow services are the primary targets of this policy or this policy update. So Blizzard is just basically targeting those big boosting communities and saying no longer you'll be able to do this. And this is very interesting change, and I really want to know your opinions about this. At the end of the day, I feel that the rules or the gray area in this policy update are pretty substantial. Like, for example, right now, people are probably going to really like this change because the trade chat is cleaned up. There's no longer consistent spam in like big servers like EU Kazakh. But I think people are just really scared right now because what quantifies a guild? Like, for example, what's stopping a boosting service, a big boosting community, from making a guild on a specific server and then continuing their boosting it the way that they do? What quantifies a guild run? For example, do you need to have 80% of the same guild members to do a boost? Do you need 50% of guild members to do a boost? What are the exact lines that... This is why I think people are really scared right now. People don't know what's going on. People are not sure how to proceed about boosting. The only thing people know is that as a guild, you can continue helping people for gold. You can still do that, especially if you're on a populated server, and it's going to be a lot easier to do in a populated server because there's going to be more demand. But I think it's going to take quite a while to really filter out the gray areas, and we'll see how the boosting communities are going to approach this, because I do think there's going to be some loops or loopholes that people are going to exploit. They're going to try and manipulate, because this has happened throughout the history of World of Warcraft, and I think there's a couple of tweets that I wanted to talk about, and I think there is going to be split opinions. I like to think this is a positive change, but I want to see how Blizzard is going to enforce this first. How are they actually going to enforce this? And is there going to be some weird gray areas that people are going to exploit? So I'm going to give it a little while to see how this is pan out. But overall, I think this is a good thing. A couple of tweets from like Limit or Liquid Raiders. Boosting communities were great in concept. Unfortunately, they all end in owners just ORMTing or real money transaction gold anyways. Glad to see him go. So this is something that resonated with me to some extent, because for the people who don't know about the size of the boosting communities, they're absolutely huge. We're talking millions, possibly billions of gold going across certain hands, and there's always top tier owners or the managers of all of this. And I always ask myself, and I'm not gonna point fingers, I'm not going to, like, this is to some extent implications, but I always ask myself, why do people at the top end of boosting communities do what they do for the gold they generate? Like, they probably have so much gold, they have nothing to spend it on. So I do see where Ironic is coming from in terms of making this tweet, but I do think it's somewhat controversial in terms of implications. But again, guys, let me know how you feel about this. I don't want to be too negative or too positive about this change, because I just want to see in the next couple of weeks or months to see how this is actually going to impact boosting and boosters. And let me know in the comments if you ever bought a boost or if you ever given out a boost. How do you feel about this change? This is a huge change that's going to have a lot of split reactions. Let me know. So let's go and move on to the really positive change that Blizzard announced, and that is going to be cross-faction gameplay. So it's finally happened, and Blizzard has announced that right now, pre-made groups and group final listing for Mythic Dungeons, raids, rated arena, rated BGs will be open to applications of both factions. Through the group, though the group leader may choose to restrict the listing to the same faction applicants if they choose. So everything that I read, and these are the three important parts here, everything that I read so far is all about the fact that you're able to play with Horde, or you're able to play with Alliance as Horde, or Horde as Alliance, and they are very scared about this change in terms of upsetting people. They mentioned the fact that you can opt out of it, they mentioned the fact that you should not be scared. This is like, they are trying to please everybody with this, but they're also aware of the fact that there is going to be some pushback. And honestly, I don't understand at all about the pushback, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm extremely happy about the fact that you are, especially for Alliance characters. I was Alliance player for a really long time in Ravencrest, one of the biggest EU Alliance populated servers. This is back in BFA Legion days. And Ravencrest became famous because like the top 10 guilds all moved from Alliance to Horde because during Shadowlands, because they knew Horde is just going to be the superior faction in terms of player availability. And that turned out to be true. And Alliance, and don't take my word for it, guys. You can go and see some of the Mythic Plus rating cutoff. This is like real player information in terms of what you need to get for that top 1% rank. And you can see in terms of Alliance characters, at least on Europe, there's about 170,000 players. And in terms of Horde, there's almost 400,000 players. So it's not me just talking about the fact that Alliance has less players. It is genuinely true. The amount of players, even to some extent high-end players in Alliance, there's far less competition, or there's far less players to pick and choose from if you want to do Mythic Plus, if you want to do Mythic Rating. I know there's a lot of Alliance guilds right now who are literally, we're begging, saying, hey, Horde player, come down to our Alliance guilds, we're gonna give you gold to transfer, we're gonna give you this. They have to give incentives. That's all about the change. And cross-faction play is something that should have been introduced a really long time ago, and people are going to be talking, they're going to be saying that Horde and Alliance, the battle has always persisted, why are they doing this? There is mercenary mode for PvP. If you're a PvP player, and if you're Horde, and you don't want to deal with the Horde queue, you can talk to a guy and say you're gonna play for Alliance. The lore aspects of the last expansions have been Alliance and Horde working together to defeat the same enemy. There's just been no reason to divide the play. Like, imagine a new game releases right now and it's an MMO game and it says, hey, we're gonna split the player base into two and you're gonna have less chance of finding groups in an MMO game. Like, the whole concept of splitting Alliance and Horde was cool at the start, but it became outdated very quickly. So the only thing that I'm kind of a little bit skeptical about is that guilds will remain single faction, and this is something that guilds will remain single faction. Random matchmaking activities like heroic dungeons, skirmishes, and random battlegrounds will all remain same faction, and this is something that I feel that they're going to change. The fact that guilds remain same faction makes no sense when you can group with Alliance as a Horde and things like that. It just makes no sense. You cannot have a single group of players from different factions. Why not? I think most of the people in 9.25 are going to end up creating, like, I don't know, like communities or Discord servers where you're gonna have a list of players from Alliance and Horde, and they're going to be like, hey, we're gonna raid on Wednesday, get ready for an invite, instead of doing that in game. And I think the whole concept of guilds remain single faction is only going to be there for 9.25. I think it's going, until everything's going to be tested and fleshed out, there's 100% going to be guilds that are gonna have multiple factions. There's just no way they're not gonna do that, because people are just gonna use Discord servers, or they're gonna use some other type of community grouping tools. But it'll just feel really weird not to be able to do this in game. So that's just my opinion about this. I'm extremely happy about this. I'm probably going to try and play or re-roll some of my races to Alliance, because I enjoyed Alliance for a really long time. This is probably one of the best changes that they made in the last couple of years. Honestly, I was expecting this to happen in the next expansion, to be like, hey, the next expansion, guys, we're gonna have cross-faction play. You can play, you can play whatever race you want. You don't have to separate with your friends. I thought that was going to be the main leading point. So I'm really excited to see this happening in 9.25, because I think they have a lot of time to flesh out the bugs, the issues, and in the next expansion, this will be perfectly or seamless transition. And honestly, really excited. Let me know how you feel about everything that I covered in this video. I know there's some big topics here in terms of that's gonna split the group or split the community, the boosting ban. Again, I feel it is a positive change, but I want to hear your opinions about this. The fact that you have cross-faction gameplay, one of the best things that I've seen in a really long time. I see no negatives to this at all. I want to hear if you're against this. I want to hear why you're against this. And I want to really see your opinion and where you're coming from, because I just don't see negatives about this at this given point. And I'll see you, again, if you like the videos, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next discussion video.